ensure that the tournament environment is safe. We also found out from a focus group survey that toxicity that comes through when someone's playing the game online is a lot more when the game is being played offline in a tournament like in a LAN tournament. The toxicity is much less, and there's healthy competition between the two teams. We also try to make teams that have both girls and boys in the same team because that inspires collaboration, it inspires teamwork, and it's not always like girls versus boys. So I think a few things like that might definitely help the dominant gender look at our gender equally and not as someone who's either threatening or not as someone that is not an equally competitive gender.
Okay, interesting. So we need to do different approach for mobile gamers and also the PC gamers, right? Especially when it comes to first time gaming, right? Do you want to add something because you also?
Yeah, I think I just want to touch on one point which
Yeah.
Rikta said. So this is true where the gamers, the female gamers feel this unsafeness when they play online, and we've noticed this whenever there's a LAN tournament happening. That's completely different. I have never seen anybody go and not talk to these female gamers. Right? They just want to go take pictures with them because they're so popular, and there's a big difference between your LAN behavior and online behavior. So I think the point that she got was correct.
Sure,
I
sure.
think there are two types of things that women have to like deal with in the gaming community. Is one, they are either really toxic and they're saying go back to the kitchen and stuff like that. And on the other hand, we also have like the men who are so fascinated to just see a female gamer for the first time, and it's very difficult to even talk actually. So most of the people, that's where the whole thing comes, that there's less gamers who are female. There are a lot of gamers, they just don't want to come out. They don't want to talk on the whole thing, so that because they are going to be dealing with the same thing that these 2 points like make. So I think that's really difficult for them.
Okay, interesting. Go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, so when someone says go to the kitchen to the esports kind of thing to Mr. Shekar, because again, we understand that most of the female gamers are casual gamers, but I always believe that esports can empower women. Why? Because when women try to jump into the competitive scene, there are like certain aspects that can increase their confidence level, right? They become more brave, they become more exposed, and then they get more confidence by competing, right? So what are the best strategy to introduce esports to those women who never be in the esports space? Because I know for a fact that lots of women are playing esports game title, right? Like BGMI, used to be like Mobile Legends. Even in Southeast Asia, Mobile Legends for female is huge. Also PUBG, and then even Valorant, right? You guys having like a female-only tournament for Valorant as well, right? So what is the best strategy to drag these casual gamers, like those girls, who jump into the esports so they can be empowered as well?
So last year, couple of years back, we tried something very what we thought was unique. We brought in two female gamers in a male-dominant game. So out of 5 people, we put two female gamers, and these two were content creators, but silently they were also professional esports players. They used to play solo queue. So we identified them, and in the league format, we asked them to come and play in a set of professional players. So you had four professional players and one content player, which is a female. So since we did that, we saw a lot of female gamers coming and asking us, like, how can we participate? So that is something that has worked out really well. And from there onwards, we also wanted to figure out what are the other formats that will come. So we did a content creators only tournament. And now if you see, we are doing Luna, which is the all-female Valorant tournament for like in a LAN tournament. So these are something that is going to motivate them to start playing and start participating. And like how you said, we also want equal participation when it comes to female tournaments. and also provide them with a lot of roadmap, like 1 year of roadmap where in January you're playing this tournament and then you're preparing for the next tournament. So if from a tournament organizer perspective, we give that visibility to the gamers, I think the roadmap is going to be really good for them.
Okay, so provide them with safe space as well, right?
Right.
Okay, so maybe you want to add something because Nodwin also do lots of initiative.
Sure. So I also think that the fact that we don't see enough participation from women in esports, this is not something that's particular only to esports. Like in any sport, if you see, women playing comparatively is always less in quantity than what we desire, less in number than what we desire. And I think now with women's IPL, that's changing. So I also think that it's a little bit of the life cycle of the sport that we are in. Uh, it took about 10 years for women's IPL to become 1/10 of men's IPL in the first year. So I'm hoping that with time and with accelerated growth and everything that the TOs and the publishers are doing, I hope that we can see the numbers grow in the coming years.
Okay, so if you're talking about gaming industry, actually gaming industry is not about becoming a pro player, actually, right? And then I believe that female presence in the gaming industry is also very important. That's why, like right now, there's me, there's you, Miss Anushka, and also Miss Rikta here in the behind the scene of what's happening in front of the big and glamorous tournament that the event organizer make, right? But then it takes hundreds of people to make a really great, amazing gaming event, right? So as a woman who's working behind the scene, Ms. Rikta, how do you feel about the working environment in gaming industry, and then any tips for any women who actually interested in gaming industry, because sometimes you don't want to become a pro player, right?
Yeah.
But you love gaming
Yeah.
and you want to be in the industry, right? So how do you feel about the situations right now, and any tips for any women who wants to jump into the industry?
I think it's a very fun industry to work for. I think the toxicity when you start working with a gaming publisher or a gaming developer, it evaporates. Like there's no toxicity in the work environment for sure. It's a very fun environment because also most of the people who we work with are gamers, so they're inherently competitive. And it's very fun to also work with that kind of a vibe. I also believe that behind the scenes gives an opportunity to everyone in terms of any skill set that they have. I have a generalist skill set, for example. There's Anushka who has a designing skill set. I think there's space for everyone here. So like, and I can vouch for Nodwin. I can vouch for other TOs. We have a very safe working environment. So don't think twice about it. Just come and apply, and we'll find a role to fit you.
Okay, so it's a great thing that Nodwin has a very safe working environment, right? Yeah, that's great because I think that's how it's supposed to be, right? I mean, like being a woman in a gaming industry is like, which is like a male-dominant industry. It's not easy, right?
So sure, but I think we definitely over-index on how safe the women feel. We definitely over-index on whether they have all the right people to get in touch with. If they were to so have a problem, we also ensure that we take action against anybody who who may have wronged someone or who may have said something inappropriate. So yeah, I think we are definitely a very safe environment to work in.
Okay, but what do you think in the industry in general?
I think the industry, okay, so Nodwin is definitely a representative of the industry. Like I said, behind the scenes, the toxicity evaporates. I don't believe that, gaming as an industry to work for is as toxic as what a female would feel when she's playing online with someone. I do believe that it's a fairly fun industry to work for.
I see. Any additional
Yeah.
answer for that?
So me, actually, from actual experience, I have been the only girl in my batch from in college itself, and even in the industry that I'm currently also working in, we have only two girls. But I don't think there's any difference that I feel whenever I work there. everyone that who I work with is just so friendly. They make you included in the gaming industry, and I think this is really important for women to be in the industry, because it also changes the perspective of how the game is being made. So actually having a women's influence in the game can change a lot, and that can also bring a lot of women in gaming. So yeah, I think it's really fun to work in the gaming industry, and I would definitely recommend people. Um, the thing I think the women face, even I faced actually, was to cope up to men's either it be knowledge or skill sets. But I think that's something which even men struggle with, both sides. If you're new in the industry, you will be gradually getting up there. So I don't think anyone should fear into getting involved in the gaming industry, even though it's toxic. In terms of how the community is, I think the community can definitely get better, and everyone should treat everyone with respect, and that's how it works in the gaming industry itself.
Okay, so Mr. Shekar, as a male, I would like to know your perspective about how does the treatment with women in the gaming industry, especially in India.
So it has drastically increased when it comes to tournaments, especially when it comes to the online tournaments, right? A lot of people have shown interest in terms of participating because they know they're very competitive. They just want a platform for them to perform. And whenever they get a platform to perform, they just outperform all these other players. And if you see, even in our tournaments, especially in Luna, the online section also, the number of gamers that are coming forward are showing different kind of interest. They just don't want to be professional players. They want to be better professional players. So that trend is now changing in India, and at least every 5 in 10 gamers, it's going to be competitive for them, like very, very competitive.
Wow, that's a great thing to hear, because in my country as well, so I'm from Indonesia, and I'm also one of the leader in the industry of esports in Indonesia and also in Southeast Asia. I don't really, like in the industry itself, I don't really feel the discrimination. I don't really feel like bad treatment. I think as a woman, the most important thing is how you stand up for yourself, and then do not ever use your gender to be your own obstacle, right? Do not ever use, oh, I'm a girl, then I can only work for 5 hours. Right? I believe that. I mean, like, we all work hard, right? I mean, like, we work long hour, and we work as hard, as tough as our male colleagues as well. So I think that's very important for every woman who really wants to step into the gaming industry to understand that. So do not feel special just because you are a woman, right?
Yeah.
But you need to work as hard as everyone.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I mean, like, it's all about the human being working, not about the gender, women or male, right? So it's totally different. And then I got a really interesting comment from you about the toxic part of the community itself, right? So behind the scene, the industry is very supportive because most likely, like we believe that all the industrial leaders are educated people, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about community, it's very diverse, right? Some of them maybe have a very low education or grow up in a very not open-minded family. And then I have a question for you, Mr. Shekar. So to create we always talk about how to create a safe space for female gamers, right? But in fact, all game publisher never said that their major tournament is dedicated to only one gender. So all the game publisher, we have Krafton here as well. Like Krafton never say, right? Like your tournament only for male, right? No. So every publisher say that whether you're male or female, you can join, right? So why is it important for event organizer to create a female-only tournament? Because right now, female-only tournament is such a trending everywhere, and every organizer is trying to create a female-only tournament. So why do you think it's important?
See, first thing is the opportunity, right? So how many, look at the ratio of tournaments that's happening. you have every other tournament. It's a male dominant participation, and no, like you said, no publisher has ever told this is a gender specific game. It's about how they enjoy it and how much of interest that they show in their game. And like we discussed in the earlier, it is for us to create a different strategy to open up tournaments for them, and this is what we have been doing. And the more and more tournament IPs that you do for female, the more and more participation it comes, and then the brands come in. There are so many FMCG brands that people work with the female content creators. Now it's a cross pollination between their brands, them coming into the esports, and it's a growth of the industry. So that is where you have to create a separate division for female, and then make it even more specific to women, so that many more brands come into the picture.
Okay, so to introduce them to esports first, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you want to add something?
So, what I want to add to what he said. See, a tournament is never about only the game, right? The game is the base. I think the tournament is also about how much coverage it gets, what kind of media is involved, how much the media is covering it, what kind of brands are involved. So I think that the day that we get the right mix of all of these stakeholders, we'll see the female tournaments or the female only tournaments or female participation also increasing in the tournaments itself. So it may not be only a publisher or a TO driven thing, it will be like a media and brands driven thing as well.
Okay. So in your opinion, is there any difference in terms of skill level for male and female? Is there any differences level? Maybe you can.
See, it's always a debatable thing. So I don't think so there is a skill gap in terms of playing, because like I said earlier, there are so many, the 15 people who are playing there's far better than 500 people who are playing online. So there is no skill gap. It is just to identify and then come front and show your skill. And a lot of people have been doing that. I only request much more people to come and show your skill. And in terms of participation also, right? They fear because of the competition. And in the last maybe a year, 60 to 65% of people have come forward, and they've shown that the skill is no lesser than the male dominant. So yeah.
So no difference, right? Actually, right?
I don't think there's absolutely there's no difference between a girl and a guy gamer. It's based on the skills, how you play the game. The only thing which I feel that women fear is when they play a game, it's not that they'll be judged on the basis of how they play the game, it's basis of gender again. So a girl can't have a bad day in a game. They'll just be directly told, oh, you're a girl, that's why you're bad at the game. But I don't think there's any difference between the skills. It's just how you play the game. You play a game for fun, so that's how it should be.
Okay, so yeah, I totally agree, because there's never and no scientific study. You can try to research it everywhere, even ChatGPT and everything. But because women and male, when it comes to playing games, there's a scientific study that said that women are better or male are better, right? It's very similar. Like people say that women are. It's annoying. Okay, sorry. Sorry, it keeps. Okay, I think it's fine now. Okay, so it's very similar when people are saying that women are better in cleaning up. That's not completely true, right? Some guys are better in clean up stuff, right?
Exactly.
Right? Some women can be very messy, right?
They can clean up their opponents for sure.
Cooking simulators played by men mostly. There is no women go actively to play cooking simulator. They also play Last of Us and any other game which doesn't have to represent women. So yeah.
Yeah. So there is no specific thing to that, right?
So there's definitely no difference in the skill level, in terms of individual skill, but there's a difference in the number of skilled players who are playing competitively that are male and playing competitively that are female. So I think that's why overall we see a difference in the number of people playing competitively, number of males versus number of females, and I think that's the only thing that we need to solve.
Yeah.
Not really the skill level, because the skill level as you play it increases, right? The more you play, the better you get.
Yeah, but when we are talking about the competitive or women pro players. I think it's only like a tiny percentage of women who actually interested to join
Correct.
in the esports space, right? Because like you said, there are so many aspects, and that's why it's very important for us to have the female only tournament, because as we're tracing back, game is globally is more into male, right? So as we grow up, our parents always tell us that, oh, if you're a girl, then you can play dolls, you can play Barbie, but you cannot play games because games is for your brother, right? It's always like that. So I think like social element is also very important, like how you grow up in the family, how your parents treat you, and how the society treating you and shape you into what you are right now, right? So there are like so many elements. So that's why having a female-only tournament is very important. First is to introduce esports into the female to create a safe space, and also because right now I think there's no female that can catch up to the male because male play games first, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's what most of the Indian households also do is they portray that boys can play games and they're fine with them playing harsh, like violent games and stuff. But the girls can't do that because they have to be more timid and everything. I think that's what changed in my life. I grew up with an elder brother, and he was my sole inspiration of getting into gaming. And even when I was applying to my college, my mom asked me like, "Are you sure you can do this? Like, are you really? It's a male-dominant industry. Are you sure you can do this?" I was like, I don't know why there's a difference between this. Anyone can be a gamer. Anyone would like. It's not something that women like a certain game only and men like a certain thing. Which I actually read somewhere, which was young men, really like the fact of competition and competing and what is that word? Destruction, for example. Okay, and women get involved a little bit more on the narrative part of the design. They like completion, they like fantasy. So not necessarily that they will not be involved in like violent games, but this is what I have usually seen, and how women's mindset has also changed in getting into the gaming industry.
Okay, interesting. And during COVID-19, it's undoubtedly we all know that it's the rise of gaming industry, especially esports, right? It's a fast-growing industry globally, and I believe it's also happening in India, right? I mean, everyone start playing games. From no someone who never played games, they started to play games, right?
Yeah.
Because they're getting bored at home, and it's either watching movie or playing games, right? So that's why it's growing so fast. And how are the women contributing to the rise of Indian gaming, especially during pandemic as well? Maybe I can get the answer from Mr. Shekar and also Rikta later.
See, for gaming again, a lot of people started as content creators because they did not know that esports was an option for them. And like pandemic actually changed everything. A lot of people, came ahead and they started live streaming. And credits to a lot of live streaming platforms also to give them an opportunity and make them popular because they were all unknown. And then when they started making content creators, we got to know they were also gamers. And from then onwards, so there was a complete shift from being content creators and then gamers and then a professional gamer. So it's happening a lot more frequently now than what it was pre-pandemic.
Okay, additional answer to that?
No, I think agree with what Gyan said. It definitely increased during the pandemic because, like you said, we were all having more screen time for lack of better options. But I think even though now it may have normalized, but I still don't see gaming as something that was dominant only during pandemic, and it's not going to happen anymore. I think once you get into the habit of gaming, once you start having fun, you continue playing, right? So even though the numbers may have normalized, even in the overall gaming industry, I still believe women will continue playing. I'm not sure if pandemic may have resulted in a rise in esports, but it's definitely resulted in a rise in gaming and the number of people who've started gaming. So yes, it'll have a lag effect on esports, but it definitely will.
Okay, so for an addition to that question, how does brands looking for the opportunity of the rise of female gamers? Because we understand that the biggest income, the biggest revenue, especially for esports, is still coming from sponsorship, right? So we do need brands to sponsor us in order to create a magnificent tournament, magnificent gaming event. So how do you guys, as a esports leader in the industry, see this, and what are the opportunities for brand, and how do we approach them?
For brands, I always see this as a blessing in disguise because ever since they got to know that there's a popularity in this side of the esports as well, they're also trying to sneak in on the opportunities on how they can work with. And this we have noticed this in the last couple of years also, not just with the brands that we work with, the other brands also that we have seen that they also want to work with certain content creators. They want to work with certain esports players, and the opportunity that they had with the other section was exhausted, like to be honest. And then now they're seeing the other side where they can come and see what are the opportunities that they have with these content creators. And the popularity the female creators bring is vast. It's actually more than the male dominant sector. So I only think that much more FMCG brands or a female led brand to come and sponsor or participate in this sector.
Okay, additional for that?
I actually don't know anything about brands.
The branding.
Yeah, the branding. But yeah, I think I would actually like to ask a question. Why is it that you said that the women are getting more sponsorships than men? Why is that?
So one thing is, see, when they are popular, their followership is also much more than male, and they also want to capitalize. That is what your viewership is about. That is what the brands want. You want to reach out to a lot of people, right? And this is something they could not do it with the male dominant. They could do it, but not as much as what they're doing now. And also the creativity level that female bring is much more better than the male ones, at least from in the gaming sector. That is one of the reasons, and the other one is also the kind of viewership that they bring in from the other non-gaming audience. That is something very interesting that we also think the brand should look at.
Okay, yeah. Any other additional answer to that?
I think even we've been getting a lot of interest from brands to do something in the women in gaming space. So it's very good to see that interest is coming organically and not something that we have to push across. And I think there's also right now for brands a scope or the space to become like the leader in this space, being the flag bearer for women in gaming and women in esports. So I think I think it's a good time for brands to come in.
Okay, so last statement from each of you guys. So any tips for all the women to face the obstacles, for them to thrive and strive in the gaming industry, and how to overcome that obstacle? Maybe from you first, from Ms. Rikta.
I think the one thing that I have learned over time is that don't give into toxic comments, don't give into toxicity. Wear blinders if you need to, but just keep going where you have to, because it's all a function of time. It's all a function of the effort that you put in. And if you were to stop in between, then that's where it ends for you and for the rest of the girls. So just keep going. I think that would be my my advice to aspiring gamers. And one request from the community would be to turn down the toxicity online and also create an environment where females can participate. So even if that means that we may have to walk an extra mile for that, it would be a great thing to have, because in the long term, it'll just work better for the community.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rikta. Closing statement?
Yeah, I would like to say I think everyone, women especially, should not compete in the industry. Go at your own pace. Make a name for yourself. Go as it is. And of course, definitely get involved in any industry, like even the gaming industry. I would definitely recommend it. And yeah, I think that's one way to feel empowered to be in a male-dominant industry, but also make a name for yourself. So just, yeah, go for it.
Okay, and then
Yeah,
last.
not in terms of obstacle, but yeah, find motivation and just go for it. This I've been always telling.
Just
And
do it.
yeah, just do it like they do always. And I always tell, if you think that this is a male-dominant industry, please don't let it happen that way.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. That was wonderful. So should we open for the Q&A session? Yeah? Okay, so we're open for the Q&A session. So for everyone who wants to ask about the rise of female gamers in the gaming industry or anything related to the presence of female in the gaming industry, you can raise your hands. Yes, please.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay, all right. I just had a quick question for the panel here, right? I know we keep saying that it's a male-dominated industry. From a very Indian, sort of gaming perspective, are there any concrete steps that we are taking so that we make sure that, well, not just, having, I don't know, competitions for women, but the game itself is designed for women, right? Like Anushka, you said that there are certain games that one would categorize as women would play it more, but they don't, right?
Yeah.
So what is the industry doing to make sure that the game is, is not being very gender biased, but at the same time it's being designed for women in India?
Yeah. I think people are getting more involved in making. We need special treatment, as I think Debora said before. Yeah, I don't know whether that actually cleared your question, but yeah.
I think I want to add something like for women supporting women, right? To help other women. So okay, let me share you this story. So I'm one of the pioneer when it comes to creating the female-only tournament, and it takes me months to convince my boss to create a female-only tournament because he said, "Why do you need a female-only tournament? Like the girls can join the tournament," and then it takes me like lots of research, lots of proof for him to finally say, okay, you can create a female-only tournament. Because I think from female perspective, we are the one who's in the industry, right? We are the one who understand what kind of obstacle that we have. That's why in Indonesia, dangerous. So what we do in Indonesia, especially in my community, so when there's a guy who try to harass female, all the community will gather up together and speak up on behalf of that one girl. And then even there's like one guy, he was actually a content creator. He got like a blue tick on Instagram. And he was saying like this, oh, female gamers are only for content. What guys can you do? What you girls can you do? And then that girl got canceled because we raised up so hard to the media, and then all the like we gather every single person, and I actually feel grateful because the reason why female also be able to stand in the industry right now is because of the male. It's because of the male who's very open-minded, who has a good heart, and they also see women as not only by gender. So they are willing to give the opportunity. So for now, it's our part to give a proof to them that we can be in this industry, that we can work as hard as them, and we can prove that we can also strive and thrive and create a better impact, good impact for this industry. Yeah, I think that's additional thing from my side. Yeah.
I'll just include one more thing. I think the question was what the industry does. I think one thing which is majorly being done right now is they're not overly sexualizing women, female characters in the games, which I think I mentioned earlier that they industry only introduces like females as, oh, they need saving, or they are the prize for once you finish a particular game. I think that has changed a little bit. Take, for example, the game Last of Us. They're not going for empowerment, or like they're not going to show that women are badass, but they have their own stand. So I think that's what the gaming industry is currently doing.
Okay, any other question? No?
I think we can successfully say that there are no questions about how well women are going to do in gaming.
I think we said too much.
Yeah. I think already very clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists, for sharing your thoughts on this subject. This
Thank you
is
so
really, really helpful. I'm sure we got a lot of points to get the strategy straight in India, especially when the women in gaming are considered. So really thankful for coming up and giving us your wonderful thoughts. I personally thank Debora for coming from Indonesia to support the subject. Thank you.